Okay, so the last thing I'm going to go over then, now we have all of our drawings and our renders placed on here. Yeah, what I'm going to go over is just how to do, how to place text and how to make some annotations in InDesign as well. It's super easy, so this should be pretty quick. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new layer here, and I'm going to call it the text layer. And I'm actually going to add another one, and this is going to be annotation lines or leaders, something like that. This is showing like call out lines and little boxes and things that I'm going to draw in InDesign. And the text is just going to have text on it. So first I'm going to lay some text in here. What I could do if I was going to have text in the same location on each page, which I'm not, but if I was going to, I could of course go to the master page here. Let's say make a title. Yeah, so let's say I want to make a title that's on every page in the same spot. What I'm going to do is first I'm going to place some text. So I'm going to go over here to the left side of the screen, over to the type tool, which is the letter T. I'm going to click that, and I'm just going to drag a box. It doesn't really matter what size right now because we're just going to change it. And once I drag that box and release, it's going to bring up the cursor. You can see it blinking right there. Some things that we can do off the bat, we can change, of course, the font size. It's really small right now. I might want 60 point for a title. I can also manually input things. You can change the spacing between lines and letters, all that good stuff. You can change the font here. Right, it defaults to Minion Pro, but of course if you click that, there are a lot of options in InDesign. You can add more options by going to Typekit, add fonts from Typekit. You can add different fonts. You could also go to websites like DaFont, whatever, and you can download fonts. And if you do that, you just need to move the folder that has the font into InDesign's file directory for fonts. It's really easy. You can just look it up online or ask me later. But that's how I have some of these in here. So I'm just going to pick a different font. Here we'll use Able. We have, you know, some column spacing, paragraph spacing, stuff like that. The paragraph alignments here on the left side. Pretty basic stuff that you'll find in most programs. So then I can add a title, and then to get out of typing mode I can just press escape, or I could click somewhere else. And to activate it again, I can click and then double click into the box. So I'll select our type box, double click in there, and then I can start typing other stuff. So now I have our title. Depending on the font, sometimes they don't actually align to the top of the box. So sometimes you can check the alignment of the box here. On the right side, it's these just these straight lines. Here it's aligned to the top, so we know it's supposed to be at the top, but it's not really. And so what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to sort of move that so that it is at the top here. And again, just take some eyeballing to do that. There we go. So that's pretty on the line there. And now I can sort of reduce the size of our box. Again, this is where those guidelines come into play. Maybe I have a guideline here at 2 inches, the 2-inch mark. And that's going to help me specify how big my title is. So maybe my title is meant to fit in this region up here, and I can make the box that size. I can make the font bigger by typing in different numbers here and get it to be something big enough to occupy that space. Let's go with 100. Yeah, that's pretty good. So like that. So now that I've placed this text in here on our text layer, if I go back to our pages, you can see now that title is on each page. So if I wanted to edit that, I would just need to right click on the page that I'm on that I want to edit. And I'm going to go to override all master page items in the middle here. And that's just going to override that master page and allow me to select the title here so I can change the font. So then I can type in whatever I want. Press escape, and there you have it. And you can see that the title is still the same on all of these other pages. I can also change the font color if I come in here and double click. If I highlight the text, just like that, I can change the color of it. So you can see here if I bring up the color window, the fill color for the font is here. It's shown in black. There's no stroke color for fonts by default. You can add that and it will make the letters bolder. But yeah, so you can change the fill color here. If you double click on it, InDesign works in, or it has a different color picker than other programs, so it takes a little bit of getting used to, but I can make it white maybe. So I can make our font white, and you can see how that has worked here. Now we have this white font. I can also change the opacity, right, like in other programs, like in Photoshop. The opacity is this guy here, sort of in the middle, the top, the middle of the top menu. It's this box that has like a checkerboard in it. Right now it's set to 100% so we can see it. Of course, if I change that number, like in Photoshop, if I set it to 50, you can see now that our font is at 50% opacity, so you can kind of see what's going on behind it. Pretty cool for like blending fonts into renders, titles into renders, stuff like that. It's typically what I use it for. So then I can, of course, check our work with Shift W, see how that looks, and press escape to get out of that. So I'm just going to add some more font, some like subheadings for these diagrams and stuff. And I'm going to use our guidelines to line that up so they're all at the same location. So first, of course, I'm going to start with a font, or a type box. And I'm going to specify a size. It's 24. Let's use 18 for these subtitles. And I'm going to change the font style because this is not an architecture font. This is not a design font. This is a font for writing history essays, and we don't want that for this. So I'm going to use a design font, a cool font. We'll go back to Able here. I can also change the box, the frame box in green here for the text is really big. I can change that and make it fit to just the text by right-clicking on the text after I've selected it, going to fitting, and then click on this. It's the only option, but fit frame to content. So you can do that. You can see now our box is the same size as the font. So I can move it down into the corner here. And I'm just going to extend the frame box a little bit, so because when I add or change the font, I just want to give it room so that it doesn't disappear or go out of frame. So, and actually, if I did add some stuff, if I added more, you can see what I've typed has gone out of frame, and I can tell that there's overset. They call it overset text in InDesign, but I can tell that there's text outside of the frame because of this little red box with a plus sign in it. Means that there's more text that's hidden behind the frame. So that tells me that if I expand the frame, not like that, if I expand the frame, I can see the rest of that text. I could also go back to fitting and fit the frame to content and do it that way. But at any rate, so I've typed this out, and I want all of these subtitles to be the same. So I could make another type box and then reset the font size and change the font again, but what's probably easier is that I just copy and paste this. So I'm just going to do copy, and then I'm going to paste in place again, paste in place, and then I'm just going to drag and hold shift and move this guy over to the next guideline, and then I'm going to paste in place again. I'm going to drag this one over to here. Yep. Oops. And then I'm going to select all three of these, copy them, paste them in place, and then drag them down to this margin here. So you can see how that's worked out there. And then, of course, if I double click, I can start to change these, change the numbers. Just like that. And I'll do the same thing for these, the isometric and these other diagrams here. I'll copy, paste in place, and drag them down. So something like that. So, and you know, clearly this isn't working out, so I need to make another adjustment. I can just slide these diagrams up to whatever I feel is appropriate. So something like that. So that's how you'll place little subtitles in. Again, we can use Shift W to check our work. This is looking a lot better. All the text is lined up. All the diagrams are lined up. The text and the diagrams are even lined up. It's looking really clean right now, which is what we're going for. The other thing, you know, if I started making callouts here, so if I make callouts, let's see, I'll copy and then paste this guy in place again, move it up. I'll change the font size for these annotations from 18 to, let's see, 12 point here. So maybe I have a series of annotations. I'm just going to place the text generally for the annotations that I want. You can see as I'm moving these things too, there are these little orange arrows that are popping up. These are just smart guidelines that are telling me that I'm spacing the text out evenly with the spacing before it. So that's a pretty helpful guideline and something to pay attention to. Or you could manually do it with guidelines, whatever floats your boat. So I'll change the text. And what I'm doing, I'm just, again, making the text for this isometric drawing here. I'm actually going to lock that. Lock the drawings layer. So you can lock things like in Photoshop and Rhino if you click in this space. So you can see there the little padlock. Now I can't select anything that's on the blue layer. If I turn it off, I can. Okay, so I have the text for the callouts on this drawing. So now all I need to do is draw some lines that are pointing stuff out, some leaders, right? Like they're called in Rhino. So what I'm going to do is go back to the layers. I'm going to make sure we're on annotation lines because that's what I'm going to start adding in here. And I'm going to use the pen tool because I find it to be the easiest. You can use boxes, of course, line tool, but the pen tool is what I'm going to use. So I can make 90-degree angles really easily. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start generally drawing our annotation lines. And then after that, I can go back and adjust those lines so that they work a little bit better with the drawing, or with the board layout, excuse me. So I'm just going to start clicking. If I hold shift, it snaps to ortho, so I know that this is a straight line, of course. So we'll do that. What I can do also, I can just, take this line, copy, paste it in place. I'm using hotkeys here, so that's why you're not seeing what's going on, but you can go to edit to access those commands if you don't know what the hotkeys are. So I'm just going to paste these all down this drawing and just adjusting them so that they're pointing at the objects that I want them to point at. I'm just using the little scale option here. If I do, you can see the endpoint here. If I hover over it, it turns to an arrow. Then I can drag that back. Okay, so I have the annotation lines. Now I'm just going to slide this text over real quick. So, it's just a line right now. I want to add a little bit more aesthetic to these, an arrow or a dot or something. Personal preference, but I'm gonna add that in. I'm also gonna change the stroke weight because it's kind of hard to see these lines. They sort of look like part of the drawing. So I'm going to change the stroke weight. So I'm gonna go to stroke. I'm gonna go to weight. I'm gonna drop that down. Let's try 2. It's a little bold, so maybe I'll go with 1.5 here. I'm going to change the cap to rounded. These are all personal preference. You can just change these to whatever you want. But again, I want an arrow at the end to point at the objects that I'm trying to point out. So here under start and end, you can see it says none right now. If I click that, there are a number of options. So I can click on which one I want to do. Maybe this simple wide looks pretty good. So now I have arrows, right? Just on one side. If I wanted them on this side as well, I can just go to this side here where it says none and click the same thing. Now I would have double arrows, right? But I don't want that in this case, so I will keep that at none there. And the length of these lines, I'm actually just going to leave them like that, so the text lines up with the subtitle text here. So just going to start laying that text out now. And I might make adjustments to the length of the line if need be. And you can see, again, these orange guidelines are, helping me line things up. So pay attention to those. You can see this one in the middle here is showing me that the text is centered with the line. Just like that. So there we go. And of course, the text is going over my diagrams here. I would obviously need to adjust that so that's not happening, so they aren't running into each other. In this case, obviously you would do that for your project. I'm just going to crop out that one at the top to make things easy for myself. But yeah, anyway, so this is how you're going to do annotations. You might use these lines, boxes. Maybe you draw like some boxes here to sort of signify certain areas on the drawing. So if I want to highlight these boxes or these components or certain aspects on the site, I can use these boxes. I can go to stroke and change these. Maybe I want them to be sort of this dotted line instead of a solid line, so I can change that under line type. Just like that. And of course, when I have that all set up, I can press Shift W and see what it looks like. So that's pretty much it. In terms of text and annotations, it's really straightforward. You're just using a combination of the text tool and probably the pen tool, maybe the box tool or some other geometric shape tool. And that way you can make callouts, you can make leaders, you can draw these at 90-degree angles, these leader lines, 45s, doesn't matter, whatever you need to do. And then of course you just want to make sure that everything is lined up, however you're trying to line it up, that the text is lined up, that the ends of the leaders are all lined up, stuff like that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Your end result, should look something like this. You'll have the render that you guys did. You'll have a series of drawings that you guys have done with callouts and stuff like that. Of course, if you have your callouts in the PDF already, then this step here where I was making annotations and stuff, you probably don't need to do that. So if you already have them in the drawing, then you're good to go there. But at any rate, that's going to wrap up this set of tutorials. This is pretty much all you need to know to set up any board or portfolio in InDesign with your project material. So again, as always, if you have questions, just send the TAs an email, and please ask us in lab sessions if you have any questions, or if you're confused about any part, just let us know and we'll help you figure it out.